Ever dreamed of like getting a whole new you?
Yeah.
Like a dramatic transformation, but without, breaking the bank?
Yeah.
Cosmetic surgery tourism promises just that. But like, what happens when this pursuit of affordable beauty takes kind of a dark turn?
Right.
Today, we're diving into the dark side of this booming industry.
Yeah.
We'll be exploring the allure, the risks, and the heartbreaking stories that, reveal the true cost of these procedures.
Absolutely.
Our journey starts with a tragic case, story of Morgan Ribeiro.
Right.
She was a 20-year-old who lost her life after weight loss surgery in Turkey.
Wow.
Her experience and the experiences of others like her will help us unpack the factors driving this trend, the potential dangers lurking beneath the surface, and the complex ethical questions that this industry raises.
It's important to set the stage here. Medical tourism, particularly for cosmetic procedures, is a massive global industry.
Yep.
And Turkey has become a leading destination. It's not hard to see why procedures there can cost a fraction of what they do in places like the UK or the US.
Right.
But this cost effectiveness doesn't always guarantee quality, and that's where the risks start to emerge.
Okay, so let's unpack this allure of affordable beauty. We have sources indicating that procedures like gastric sleeves and tummy tucks can be significantly cheaper in Turkey, sometimes, thousands of dollars less.
Right.
And agencies even offer attractive packages that include flights and accommodation,
Yeah.
making it seem, like a dream come true.
I see.
So what's the catch?
Well, the lower prices are often due to a combination of factors. Lower operating costs, lower wages for medical professionals, and sometimes less stringent regulations. This doesn't automatically mean the quality is bad across the board, but it does increase the likelihood of corners being cut. And that can have serious consequences for patients.
That brings us back to Morgan's story. She was on a long NHS waiting list for weight loss surgery. And like so many others, she was drawn to the promise of affordable and quick solutions advertised by agencies in Turkey.
Right.
She found global medical care online, booked her surgery, and documented her excitement on social media. But there were red flags she missed, weren't there?
Absolutely. The agency Morgan chose didn't even have a physical office. It was just a mailbox at a rental property.
Wow.
And the surgeon they recommended, while based in Istanbul, specialized in hemorrhoid treatment, not the complex weight loss surgery she was seeking.
Oh, wow.
Furthermore, online reviews for the clinic were overwhelmingly negative, citing complications and inadequate care. The language barrier also poses a significant challenge in these situations.
So despite thinking she was doing her research, Morgan missed some crucial details. She flew to Istanbul with her boyfriend, full of hope for a fresh start. But upon arrival, they faced a different doctor than the one she'd consulted with online. A doctor who didn't even speak English. That must have been incredibly stressful.
Absolutely. Imagine the anxiety of undergoing a major surgery without being able to fully understand or communicate with your doctor. It's a recipe for miscommunication and potential disaster.
And sadly, disaster is what happened. After the surgery, Morgan experienced constant pain, but was discharged after just 3 days.
Wow.
On her flight back to London, she collapsed, forcing an emergency landing in Belgrade. Despite an emergency operation there, she tragically passed away a few days later.
The autopsy revealed a severe infection that had spread throughout her body, likely stemming from a damaged intestine during the surgery in Istanbul.
Right.
This highlights a major risk with medical tourism complications arising from potentially substandard surgical techniques or unsanitary conditions.
Heartbreaking. And what's even more troubling is the response from the clinic and the agency. They denied responsibility, blaming each other. While the surgeon refused to comment, a young woman lost her life, and it seems like no one is being held accountable.
And sadly, Morgan's story is not an isolated incident. Our sources indicate at least 28 British women have died in the past 5 years following cosmetic surgeries in Turkey.
Wow.
This raises serious questions about the lack of regulation and accountability in the industry.
But it's not just about the tragic deaths. There are countless cases of people surviving these surgeries, but suffering lifelong complications and trauma. We have another case here, Sarah Platt. She went to Turkey for a tummy tuck and breast surgery, lured by the low prices offered by an agency.
Right.
What happened to her?
Sarah's story is a stark reminder of the potential risks involved in medical tourism. Before we delve into that, it's important to understand that the term tummy tuck refers to a procedure called abdominoplasty, where excess skin and fat are removed from the abdomen to create a smoother, firmer profile.
Oh.
It's a complex surgery that requires significant expertise and careful aftercare.
That context is helpful.
Yeah.
So knowing what we know about this procedure, walk us through Sarah's experience.
Well, from the beginning, there were red flags.
Okay.
Sarah was pressured to pay for the surgery before she even saw the doctor. Then after the procedure, she experienced severe complications, but the aftercare was woefully inadequate.
Oh.
She was essentially left to fend for herself in a hotel room with untreated wounds and excruciating pain.
That's terrible.
This brings up another major risk of cosmetic surgery tourism, poor aftercare, and the difficulty of seeking recourse if something goes wrong, especially in a foreign country with potential language barriers and unfamiliar legal systems.
So she was left to rot in a hotel room, as she described it, and had to endure immense physical and emotional suffering. Even a year later, she's still dealing with the consequences, having undergone 9 follow-up surgeries back in Wales to try to repair the damage. Her story is a powerful testament to the devastating impact that these botched procedures can have on people's lives.
It is. And it also highlights the importance of thorough research, due diligence, and understanding the full scope of risks involved before making such a life-altering decision.
You know, it's easy to get swept up in the allure of affordable beauty. But stories like Morgan's and Sarah's are a stark reminder that we need to approach this industry with caution and a critical eye.
Absolutely. And this leads us to the question of how the industry itself is responding to these concerns. To get a sense of that, let's take a closer look at a medical tourism fair that was held in London.
Okay.
It offers a fascinating glimpse into the conflicting forces at play within this industry.
Okay, so we have reports and footage from this fair. And it sounds like kind of a mixed bag of responses. Yeah. Sarah actually attended the fair, determined to confront organizers and exhibitors with her story and pictures of her botched surgery.
Right.
She wanted to know what they were doing to address the risks and protect patients.
Right.
What kind of reactions did she get?
The reactions were quite varied. Some organizers expressed sympathy and acknowledged the importance of aftercare, while others downplayed the risks, claiming that complications can occur anywhere, regardless of location.
Right.
This lack of a unified response, a consensus on how to handle these issues or who is ultimately responsible for patient safety is a major concern.
It's almost like there's this disconnect between, the glossy marketing materials and the reality of what can happen when things go wrong. And it sounds like, despite the scandals and negative press, the medical tourism industry is still booming. People are still drawn to the low prices, even with the risks. Why do you think that is?
Well, healthcare costs are a huge burden for many people, and the promise of affordable treatment, especially for procedures not covered by insurance, is a powerful draw.
Right.
It's understandable that people would be tempted by these offers. The challenge is balancing that desire for affordable care with the need to protect patients from exploitation and harm.
So it's a complex issue with no easy solutions. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about what individuals can do to protect themselves if they are considering medical tourism.
Right.
What steps can people take to minimize the risks?
First and foremost, remember that price should not be the sole deciding factor.
If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Thorough research is crucial. Go beyond the glossy websites and marketing materials. Verify the doctor's credentials. Read online reviews from multiple sources. And don't be afraid to ask tough questions about the procedure, the risks, and the aftercare plan.
It's about making an informed decision, not a rushed one. And that includes understanding the full costs involved, not just the surgery itself, but also travel, accommodation, potential complications, and follow-up care.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the importance of communication. Make sure you can clearly understand the doctor and the medical staff, and that they can understand you. If you feel pressured or uncomfortable at any point, that's a major red flag.
It sounds like choosing a provider for medical tourism is a lot like choosing a surgeon for any major procedure. You want someone with experience, expertise, and a good track record. You wouldn't choose a heart surgeon based solely on price, would you? Exactly. And the same level of scrutiny should apply to medical tourism. It's about prioritizing your safety and well-being above all else.
We've covered a lot of ground here, the allure of affordable beauty, the risks involved, and the lack of consistent regulation in the industry. But before we delve deeper into the legal challenges and ethical considerations, let's take a moment to hear from you, the listener.
Yeah.
Have you or anyone you know considered medical tourism? What are your thoughts on this complex issue? We'll be back shortly to share some final thoughts and resources, and to discuss the broader implications of this growing trend.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of beauty tourism. Before we paused, we were discussing the importance of thorough research and choosing your provider wisely. But even with the best planning, sometimes things don't go as expected.
Right.
So what happens if you find yourself, facing complications or a botched procedure abroad?
It's a scary thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
You're already dealing with the physical and emotional stress of a procedure gone wrong. And then, you have to navigate a foreign legal system, potential language barriers. It feels overwhelming.
It's definitely a challenging situation, but not impossible. There are legal avenues you can pursue. It's often a long and complicated process.
Right.
That's where someone like Burcu Orhan comes in. She's a Turkish lawyer specializing in helping victims of medical malpractice in Turkey.
I've seen her name in several news reports. She's become a real advocate for these victims, helping them understand their rights and options. It sounds like she's dealing with a growing number of cases.
She is. In fact, she currently has about 28 ongoing cases and receives around 10 inquiries a week.
Right.
That speaks volumes about the scale of the problem. One thing she emphasizes is that many victims simply give up. The process of suing in a foreign country can be incredibly daunting and expensive.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the trauma of what happened. Then you have to face legal fees, travel expenses, translation costs. It's no wonder people feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. And that's why Burcu is advocating for stricter regulation of the intermediary agencies, the ones arranging these medical tourism packages.
Right.
She argues that if these agencies were required to be insured and have certain qualifications, it would create more accountability and potentially weed out some of the bad actors.
That makes a lot of sense. If the agencies had more skin in the game, so to speak, they'd be more careful about the clinics and surgeons they partner with. It could help raise the overall standards of care.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Right now, the burden of proof often falls on the patient.
Right.
They have to prove negligence or malpractice, which is extremely difficult, especially in a foreign country.
And even if you win a case, there's no guarantee you'll receive compensation. Yeah. It's a long and uncertain road. That's why prevention is so crucial. Choose your provider wisely, ask the right questions, and make sure you have a plan in place. Just in case.
Another thing to consider is travel insurance.
Okay.
Specifically one that covers medical complications.
Right.
Not all policies do so check the fine print carefully.
Yeah.
Even with insurance, you might still have to pay some expenses up front and then seek reimbursement later.
It's a lot to think about. But I think the main takeaway is this. Medical tourism, especially for cosmetic procedures, comes with inherent risks. It's not like booking a regular vacation. You're dealing with your health and well-being.
Yeah.
That deserves the utmost caution and consideration.
I couldn't agree more. It's also important to remember that these risks aren't limited to countries like Turkey. Medical tourism is a global phenomenon.
Right.
There are unscrupulous providers everywhere. The allure of cheap procedures can be tempting.
Right.
But it's crucial to weigh the potential benefits against the very real dangers.
Let's circle back to Morgan's story for a moment. Her death was a wake-up call, not just for her family and friends, but for anyone considering medical tourism. Her mother has been incredibly vocal about the need for greater awareness and regulation of this industry.
She has, and she believes her daughter was drawn in by the allure of a quick fix, a way to achieve the body image she desired without the weight or the cost. back home. Sadly, that desire cost her her life.
It's a tragic reminder that we live in a society that places immense pressure on people, especially women, to conform to certain beauty standards. That pressure can make people vulnerable to these kinds of opportunities, even when they come with significant risks.
It's a complex issue. There's no easy answer. But I think it starts with having open and honest conversations about the risks of medical tourism. We need to challenge these unrealistic beauty standards, promote body positivity and self-acceptance.
Well said. It's about empowering people to make informed decisions about their bodies and their health, decisions that are free from societal pressures.
We've delved into the allure, the risks, the legal challenges, but now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Okay, I'm interested to hear where you're going with this. We've talked about individual stories, regulations, legal recourse. What about the underlying forces that drive this whole industry?
What's fascinating here is how globalization, economics, and societal pressures all intersect. On one hand, you have increasing access to affordable healthcare and travel. This opens up options for people who might not have had them before.
Like in Morgan's case, she couldn't afford the surgery in the UK. She was facing a long wait through the NHS. Turkey seemed like the solution.
Exactly, but on the other hand, there's this immense pressure to conform to certain beauty standards, often fueled by social media and advertising. This creates a demand that some providers are all too eager to exploit, sometimes at the expense of patient safety.
It's like a perfect storm. People wanting affordable solutions, a globalized marketplace making it easier to travel for treatment, and this relentless pressure to look a certain way.
And then if we connect this to the broader economic landscape, you have disparities between countries. Places like Turkey can offer lower prices due to lower operating costs and wages. This makes them attractive destinations for medical tourism.
But as we've seen, those lower prices can come with a hidden cost.
Yeah.
Potentially lower quality of care, weaker regulations, a higher risk of complications. It's a complex equation with no easy answers.
This raises an important question. How do we balance the desire for affordable healthcare with the need to protect patients from exploitation and harm? It's not about shutting down the industry entirely. It's about making it safer and more transparent.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what can we as individuals do? What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
We need to be informed consumers. Think critically about the choices we make, advocate for better standards and regulations. Yeah. Remember that our worth isn't defined by our appearance.
Right.
True beauty comes from within, from self-acceptance and embracing our individuality.
That's a powerful message. We've focused a lot on the negative aspects of beauty tourism.
Right.
But it's important to acknowledge that some people have positive experience. Not everyone ends up with complications or regrets.
True, but even if you're considering medical tourism for the right reasons, and you've done your research, there's always a degree of risk involved, and that's a risk you have to be willing to accept.
Ultimately, it comes down to personal choice.
Yeah.
But it's a choice that should be made with full awareness of the potential consequences, both positive and negative.
And as we move towards the conclusion of our deep dive, I think it's worth exploring one final thought.
I'm all ears. What's on your mind? You mentioned a final thought. I'm curious to hear where you're going with this.
We've explored the individual stories, the allure of affordability, the risks and legal challenges. We even touched upon the broader economic forces at play.
Right.
But I think it's crucial to zoom out even further and consider the ethical implications of this industry.
Absolutely. Let's unpack this ethical dimension.
Yeah.
What specific concerns come to mind?
One key concern is the potential for exploitation. The desire for affordable procedures combined with the often desperate pursuit of certain beauty standards can create a vulnerable population susceptible to unethical practices by some providers.
That makes sense. We've already seen examples of this with pressure tactics, inadequate aftercare, and even pushing unnecessary procedures on individuals.
Yeah.
It's a troubling aspect of this industry that needs to be addressed.
Another ethical consideration is the issue of informed consent. Yeah. Are patients truly making informed decisions when language barriers exist, when information is limited, or when pressure tactics are employed?
That's a great point. It's crucial for individuals to have a clear understanding of the procedure, the potential risks and complications in the recovery process before making such a life-altering decision. But that's not always the case, especially when dealing with medical tourism.
Exactly. And then there's the question of global healthcare disparities. Should countries with weaker regulations and lower costs be expected to bear the burden of providing affordable procedures for individuals from wealthier nations?
That's a complex question. It highlights the interconnectedness of this industry and the broader issues of global economics and access to healthcare.
It does. It's not about pointing fingers or placing blame, but rather acknowledging the complex ethical web that surrounds medical tourism and sparking a dialogue about responsible practices and equitable solutions.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what key takeaways do you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important message is this. Medical tourism is a complex and evolving landscape. While it offers opportunities for affordable care, it also presents significant risks that need to be carefully considered.
Thorough research, due diligence, clear communication, and a realistic understanding of the potential risks are crucial for anyone considering this path.
Yeah. Absolutely. And beyond individual responsibility, I think it's crucial for us as a society to have open and honest conversations about the forces driving this industry, the ethical dilemmas it presents, and the need for greater transparency and accountability.
It's a conversation that needs to involve patients, providers, policymakers, and everyone in between.
Well said. Because ultimately, we need to strive for a future where everyone has access to safe, quality healthcare, regardless of their income or where they live.
That's a powerful and inspiring vision.
Yeah.
And it's a vision worth striving for.
It is, and it's a journey that begins with informed choices, critical thinking, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
So to our listeners, we urge you to stay informed, stay curious, and continue diving deep into the issues that matter most. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the dark side of beauty tourism. Until next time, stay safe and stay engaged.
As always, subscribe to our channel, like the video, and comment below. There are also some links in our description that you may find useful. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.